What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm Ronan Gain. Joining me, as always, Chris Nambu. Thank you so much for making this your first podcast for NBA coverage. It's been a hot minute. We've been off for a couple of weeks. I was back in Ireland, and we tried one time with my crappy internet. Managed to get an episode going, but we didn't want to risk that again. It was very annoying. So we took a little break, but we're back now. We've got plenty to talk about in today's episode. Trae Young is a Washington Wizard, and the weirdest part of it all is he wanted to be a Washington Wizard. What is going on there? Are we finally seeing a turn here, or did Trey just want to go and have no pressure on him whatsoever? We also got to talk about the race for MVP. Jokic is likely not going to qualify despite having yet another insane season. Wemby might also miss out due to injuries and little things like that, little niggles that are holding him back. We got to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers and JJ Redick, still fourth seed in the West, but do we really believe in them long term? The Suns, they've been the surprise package almost in the West this year, just outside the top six. We're making a real push for the playoffs, and of course we got to talk about the Thunder. Were we too quick in crowning them the next great dynasty of the NBA? So much to get into. We're going to do it all, but Chris, before we get into it all, how you doing, man?
Dude, it's a lot. That's a lot to jump into. We are on one coast this week, pretty much just in the West, unless you think there's any Eastern Conference MVPs to talk about. But I'm good, man. It's been a lot of basketball, a lot of holidays, a lot of family time. It's peak flu season here. I didn't quite survive it, so I'm back from the dead right now. But just ready to talk about this trade, man. We've been talking about this trade for a long time. Looking back, we've always had this like fond memory of their Eastern Conference run. You know, the heartbreak in New York, the
I don't know if I
villain
had a
that
fond memory of
yeah,
that.
you know, I did at least I did, and everyone watching besides New Yorkers enjoyed that time, and that's always been the goal. That's always been the goal to get back to that point, is to get back to that pinnacle. And it's just not something that's happened over that course of time. You've seen that in the last 4 years. They've peaked at first round elimination that year after that run, then being in the play-in tournament since. And over his career, they've been 221 and 272. That's been their record with Trae Young. It's not been a winning time. They don't include, and you include, take out those 2 years that where he started, still losing record. And not to say that it's Trae's fault. There's so many years mired by injury there. They didn't quite have their feet under them for many of those seasons, but he has always been the focal point of that criticism, and his game has always been scrutinized for it. And we're talking about a guy who is, going to be one of the greatest, point guards in terms of stats. Like 25 points per game, over 9 assists per game, puts him pretty firmly up there in, top 20 in statistically speaking when it comes to scoring and assists. Now the turnovers have been an issue throughout his career. The defense, although his effort has come along since his early years, still has been an issue as well. So it's been a really up and down career with Atlanta. He's been a fixture there. He belongs in their history. Just the pages that he wrote there, unfortunately, just never turned out to be what they wanted to be.
Yeah, no, it's tough, and we talked about going into the season like this was going to be the best
Hmm.
roster that there ever was around Trey Young.
Yeah.
When the injuries have come, and he just hasn't really fit in. And we've seen the emergence of Jalen Johnson, and the Hawks have taken note of that too, and just said, "Okay, Trey Young, we don't need you anymore. We've got a different route. We have a different pathway that we're going to go on now, and you're just not a part of that." And you just think of a couple of years back, just how important Trey Young was to this team, and the belief that they still had in him, and I guess we still had in him to be that star guard, and to where we've got to now. Like, it's been a kind of a crazy downfall, and it's going to be so interesting to see where we go from now. Does the rest of his career just be him as an empty stats man, or does he go on to have a real impact on another team? Maybe not as a lead guy, but like as a important key member of a winning team.
Yeah. Um, it's really unfortunate this year because I guess when we look at the way this ended, do we feel that he got a real shot at proving that he fit in with this team?
Probably not, but I think I think there was enough there that he obviously wasn't showing it. He wasn't showing enough to be able to be given the honest shot at it. I know the injuries have not been annoying for him. He's had a lot of the niggles so far this year, but I think they'd seen enough. And if he had been doing enough, then he'd still be on the Hawks and he would have got that shot.
Yeah. And I feel like the main thing here is the request, right? Trae Young and his camp wanted to go, and they wanted to go to Washington. And I want to kind of look at that, like, what is his motivation here? I think it's a few different things. One, Travis Schlenk, the GM of the Wizards, who, I think for a lot of different reasons, the Wizards have been managed well ever since he took over. Their talent has looked good there. Their draft choices and with the picks that they've been given, and their money management, getting off of Beal's contract. There's been a lot of good things that they've done there. So just in terms of objectively looking at their ownership, it's good, and it's a guy who definitely probably values Trey more than most GMs in the league. Um, it could be argued that you'd argue that he's going to be the GM who would value Trey the most out of anybody in the league. And then you look at, he wants a fresh start. And this means a lot to me because I think that the noise is really amplified throughout this season about the negative impact that he's had on the court. What better place to be than Washington? And I don't mean that in like a flippant way, like in like just joking about it, like putting down on the Wizards, but I think the defense doesn't matter right now. Like, and I think it will. The identity they want to create there will eventually matter. Like 3 years from now, I think we're having the same conversation if he's still there. 2 years from now, but they so desperately need true playmaking. They need a guy to organize this offense. They need. I mean, honestly, they could use a little bit more heliocentric offense that everyone can feed off of, as opposed to kind of they're trying to come up with an egalitarian attack here. It hasn't quite worked out. It's not always been clean, and Trae Young gives you a very clear offensive system that a lot of people are going to be excited about. A lot of people are going to be talking about, if this works, like, hey, Trae Young's helping this team. Trae Young's a big part of these young guys developing. Trae Young's XYZ. I think it's going to be a lot better for his brand than, hey, does Trae Young actually suck and the Hawks are losing because of him? Like, as a player, as like a true star player, like how much does that have to be so frustrating that you come in, year out, you're leading your team in scoring, you're leading your team in assists, and you know your deficiencies, you're doing your damnedest, but the team just doesn't come up, and it's always like, well, Trae Young's a flawed superstar. He's not really a superstar. It's not really that. Are they really that good without him? Okay, dude. Like, let me figure something else elsewhere. Like, let me just go elsewhere because clearly the narrative has been driven to this being my fault, and neither party wanted like he wasn't offering an extension. Like the Hawks were already posturing for it. So I don't disagree with Trae. I don't think anyone should have any noise about Trae. Like, oh, like he left, like he copped out, or he asked that. Like, I think it's a pretty fair situation for him to actually have wanted to leave, and I think it actually, when you think about it, it makes sense. It's a lower stakes scenario where he actually can have a really positive impact and do something good for this young team.
I don't know. In terms of the situation, I think it was very mutual on both sides. It felt like I think the Hawks were happy to move him on, and I think he realized he needed a fresh start. It's just hard. Like my initial reaction, like look at him. I want to go to the Wizards. He's going to the Wizards. If he wants to get paid the most money he can get paid, he stays with the Wizards.
Exactly. That's
If
the
he
third
wants,
point.
if he wants to win, he's gonna be looking to move on from there from the Wizards. He has a player option for next
Yeah.
year, which I assume he will pick up. But yeah, that's the real question there with going to Washington. Low stakes team that are going to be desperate. Not a lot of stars come through Washington. They'll be willing to pay him the biggest bag, I'd imagine, out of anyone else in the league. But if he really wants to be a winner, and he'll go and just be a point guard, a second, third star on a team. If he wants to be that guy, that's what he wants the rest of his career to be. Then I think he'll move on from Washington.
Well, let's talk about that though, because like, is it just money? It's just less pressure. It's just easier for his career. Oh, well, look at his statement. It's time to see what's possible when the support is real and the vision is clear. We move. That was the last line of his statement, and it's funny because it's like,
How
thanks.
exactly is the support real in Washington? I guess. I
Travis
mean,
likes his boy, man. That's his boy.
yeah, I guess so. You're not going to get that much support from the fans though, because they have like the worst attendance in the league, don't they?
Yeah, I think a part of this too is like no one from the Hawks organization was really like going to bat for him in the media.
Yeah.
They just kind of let him get roasted all year long with, there's no like, oh, he's dealing with injury. Well, we're still adjusting. We need to give Trae time. He was not treated like their star player this season. It's not really felt like it last season. It's felt like Quinn Snyder's team since Quinn Snyder arrived, and yeah, I think that was the conversation when Quinn Snyder got there. It's like, hey, like, is this still Trae's team? Does he just kind of have to like figure this out when Snyder comes to
No, man,
power?
it's Jalen Johnson's team now, bro. Come on.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that. But what I'm saying is that he, you see teams defend, like you see the Thunder come out and defend Westbrook when Westbrook was having his boneheaded media time. You see teams come out and defend their star players to the media, and that Trey was just left out high and dry, honestly. And a lot of these things are legitimate criticisms against him, but for him as a player, like he clearly didn't get a lot of support from them. Um, but I mean, with the vision, like, what's the vision of this Washington Wizards team? I don't know. I see a lot here, man. Like, there's a lot of flashes. This is not a team that's ready to contend, for sure. But if you think about his pairing with Alex Sarr, that's pretty fascinating to me. You
Mhm.
get a guy like Trae Young, who is a pick and roll maestro, who has never had the opportunity to work with a guy like Alex Sarr, who we project could really be three-level scorer, be a great pick and pop big. He's got a great role presence. And then you surround him with these athletes. Like, we're pretty excited about Keyshawn George. Bilal Coulibaly, I need to see that offense come along, but we know that he's really exciting in the open court. He's really exciting as a defensive prospect. Trey Johnson, we're super high on as a movement shooter around him, and his creation is already starting to pop a little bit. Bob Carrington is just always really solid, and I think that he still has a lot. He's still got a lot of juice left to get better. So I think the young guys around him are actually pretty interesting and work really nicely around a guy who's going to keep a dribble alive, who's going to really orchestrate a dynamic offense. And he's got cutters around him. He's got some movement shooters around him. He's got a great role man. So I think the vision in terms of like what he gets to do, like he gets to do what he does best, and these players get to benefit from it and really grow off that. I think that vision actually makes sense. That vision is clear, and I think that this is not going to be a bad situation for him. And in reality, if he does play the season, which the debate is ongoing right now, is he going to actually play? It could be good for the Knicks as well. You guys get a pick out of it if they end up getting out of the top 8 in this draft, which I think would be pretty tough for this team who still is probably looking for their true number one. But if they're just looking to move forward, accelerate the process, then that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, no, I do like the idea. Like, I hope we get to see, like, okay, maybe we don't get anything this year, but I like to at least think we get a year out of Trey kind of being like the offensive hub of this team. I think that would be fun to watch, and then like that'd be year 3 for Sarr, and another year Trey Johnson, and another year for all these guys, and I think that'd be really helpful. So I do hope we get to see an honest look at what Trey looks like within this team. It's just a question of where do they like see it going? Like how good can they get it with Trey? Like if you think like of the next year and a half as being like the audition for like both Trey showing that he's good enough to be the guy, and for the Wizards to look at this team as a whole and say, yeah, Trey is an important piece of this. We need to pay him to make sure that he sticks around. So it's going to be really interesting to keep eyes on like the Washington Wizards. We don't really say that too often. We haven't said that in a while, but the
Yeah,
Washington Wizards are slowly starting to become interesting
like
again.
I've
And it's
I've not had a bad time watching that team once this season.
no,
Anytime I've put on
I
it,
agree.
it's been a good game. The Wizards are always competitive. Does it look put together? No, I mean they're all young guys. They have an opportunity. I think what we're gonna see though is that this is gonna be one last tank. I think Trey Young's gonna have this lingering contusion. They'll have talks in the summer when they're working on that draft pick, and then things will be a little bit more clear for them what the path is forward, and they'll have a go-to point guard to organize things around. Maybe yet another top pick, hopefully a top 5 pick for them. And we talked about this is totally like different levels of this comparison, but we had pretty real conversations with Shay in OKC with them continuing to amass talent. And it's like, hey, this guy's like already established. Like, shouldn't he just go somewhere he's going to win? Like, you never know when young talent starts to accelerate in growth. Alex Sarr right now is top three interior defender in this league right now. Like, he's already kind of figured out how to be a defensive anchor and he's a lot of room to get better as well. So you never know. Never know what Keyshawn George looks like next year. If Bilal Coulibaly puts together a shot, Trey Johnson continues to just have this accelerated growth. Like things can change quickly in a couple of years. And the Eastern Conference, you can't imagine a better conference to really maybe be taking some swings on these young guys getting better and all of a sudden being competitive. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Crazier things have happened.
No, no, I can see that. And what about the Hawks side? Or what about this now leading to a pursuit of Anthony Davis? What do you think about that?
No, I don't. I don't buy that. Because you're trading the broken goods for broken goods if at that point because you need to get off of KP. Are you then losing one of these young guards as well? You're not giving up a pick. I think that I'd rather see KP here on the floor because I don't think that either of them are going to be particularly more uh, secure against injury. I don't
Hmm.
trust either of them. And I think that what makes a lot more sense for this Hawks offense is their spread attack. I think that having Anthony Davis in the middle would muck things up when you have these wide open lanes for your Jalen Johnsons, your Dyson Daniels, your Nikhil Alexander Walkers. I think that the way that they're spreading the floor with a lot of shooters has been great. Um, and I think that I would rather have KP out there as a pick and pop partner for Jalen Johnson necessarily than Anthony Davis and what he brings defensively. As I think that the Hawks should get better defensively. I believe that they're a better defensive unit than they've shown. They've been inconsistent this season, but when it's been good, it's been great. And maybe with KP a little bit more healthy here, they'll be able to show that they can do that more consistently.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's fair. It's obviously just interesting now. Like this is a angle that the media can run with leading up to the deadline that the Hawks are in the pursuit of a guy like Anthony Davis because let's be honest, nobody else kind of really is. So the Mavericks will want that juice to keep going, and maybe that will make other teams' heads turn, and maybe they'll enter the conversation there. It's just interesting though that when you look at this in a broader sense that Trae Young and Luka Doncic have both been traded in the last year
Yes.
for a combined one first round draft pick, and Desmond Bain and Mikal
Yes.
Bridges for nine first round draft picks.
Yeah, we
And
saw
like
that too.
I saw that too, and just like looking at that, and it's just like almost just like a really interesting, just like testament to where the NBA is at right now, and just the importance of role players. I'm not saying that they're worth more than Trey Young or Doncic. It's just like that era that we're in, and how important who your third and fourth guys are on a team is just so huge in the NBA today. And I think that like just looking at it in that small vacuum, that kind of is a really a sign of where we are at in the modern NBA right now.
Yeah, and I think too the that number is quite inflated by the Bridges trade
Hmm.
because I think that a lot of that is like all in trades that we're seeing less of.
Hmm.
We're seeing a lot less of these all in trades, and but two first round picks for Bane is I mean that was a lot, and I think that you look at the positions that these teams are in and the nuance behind it, and I think the bigger point to that post is the Trey piece of it and his value
Hmm.
because I think the Luca thing that's just such an anomaly. We'll never see any blunder like that ever again. That should never have happened. That never speaks to that true value. And the I think the reality of this trade is the true value of Trae Young and what the NBA values right now. The NBA highly values two-way play. We've seen how in the playoffs, players with a glaring weakness, like a true exploitable weakness, will always be like that kink in the armor that can be exploited and really limits your championship ceiling. And Trae Young just will always have that. And for the teams that want to go for a championship, the teams that, would maybe think about adding a lead guard, that's the turnovers and the defense and the shooting deficiency. Even though he's truly like one of the better pick and roll operators of league history, those deficiencies just lead him to be a sub special like all-star level player. Like he's just not a long-term playoff reliable contender.
Yeah, no, man, it's just like crazy when you think of it, like, because like Trae Young is a guy capable of averaging 30 points and 10
Mm-hmm.
assists,
Mm-hmm.
but most people would take a guy like Andrew Nemhard over him because it's just that has that ruggedness and that
I
little bit of
mean,
extra defense and just little
that's
things
such a
like
good example. That's such a good example. Andrew Nemhard is never gonna have that sheer raw offensive talent. He's never gonna be able to like hand him the ball, run 20 pick and rolls, and create on a night in night out basis. Trae Young can do that for an entire season. But when it comes to a 7 game series, Andrew Nemhard is going to make special plays. Andrew Nemhard is going to win 50-50 balls. Andrew Nemhard is going to be an absolute dog on defense, and he's going to make winning plays. And it's, I mean, that's a great comparison because I think that obviously you would, I'm not saying you trade Trae Young for Andrew Nemhard, but those types of guys that are more valuable in a league where I mean, the East is open. The West is competitive. Like Trae Young is not a guy that you're going to go in on. You're going to trade picks for. You're going to trade your future for when there's just so much uncertainty around it. And again, that's why this is the perfect matchup. Like the Wizards literally needed to spend money. They literally need to spend money to get to the floor, and they did it. And they have a pretty good excuse to sit a guy who can rehab, and in the future they can work both ways. They can keep a guy who's just gonna not be a tank commander, but maybe he's not gonna raise their ceiling too much. But if he does, if the way that everything gels, he gets all these young players better, then it makes sense. But yeah,
what about the other former All Star that could be also getting traded now? Shams Charania reporting today that the Grizzlies are officially shopping John Morant and might actually be open to the idea of trading him. What value does John Morant? Apparently, rumors there's a lot of teams that are interested. Like, what value, if that's what the value of Trae Young, what value does John Morant have in the market right now?
that's tough to say too. I I can't imagine it being much higher. I can't imagine it just being a change of scenery. It has to be because trades really do inflict so much immediate impact on the value of subsequent trades. So Trae Young really depressed the star market here, and I think it's a pretty realistic market. It's like, hey, the margins are so tough right now with the current CBA. Where does Ja go? The Heat? Does the Heat feel?
Apparently, they're prioritizing draft picks and young players. I don't see how they're getting both of those things for John Morant at this moment in time.
Yeah, I honestly, my short answer to that is I don't see what teams have motivation to get Ja at this current point in time when he hasn't showed us that things have significantly changed with this game. His defense is still not there. The shooting's still not there. And this team, again, it's perfect classic story that Trae Young, team's been better without him. Grizzlies have looked better without Ja. And this time it actually is. It's sad because a few years ago it's like, well, it's because the Grizzlies are great, and then Ja comes back and they're great. But things have changed, and he's not quite the same player. And I think teams know that. Teams aren't looking for a guy like Ja right now.
No, no, I agree. That's just going to be interesting to watch to see if anything happens there and where he ends up going. It's hard to
He
see him
feels
going to a real contender.
he feels like a Kings guy.
Oh
He
yeah,
feels like a
yeah.
Kings guy.
Well, the Kings are reportedly desperate. They got to get off some of those veterans that they have, and yeah, I mean the Kings is ugly as
I,
hell. But yeah, they could be a team desperate enough to go in
I
for a
mean,
guy like
listen,
John Morant.
Levine for Ja Morant it's a structured trade around Levine, John Morant. Maybe there's second round picks involved. You inject a little bit more offense, a little more spread the floor, a little bit more for Jaren Jackson. I don't I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's something, all right. I guess it's more than CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. I guess it's a little bit more than that. But like yeah, yeah. No, I could see the vision there. But from two guys we thought maybe were going to be MVP candidates to the actual race for MVP this year, it looks like Jokic and Wemby are going to miss out on MVP consideration because they're not going to meet the 65 game threshold. Who do you think? Obviously, it feels like it will just land in Shea's lap, the MVP. Not that he hasn't earned it. He's still averaging, what, like 32, 6 and 6, and the number one seed in the West. So he will have earned the right. But it's just going to be interesting to see if a guy, like I'm looking at two guys in the Eastern Conference. I'm looking at Brunson and I'm looking at Cunningham, and seeing those as two guys that could enter the race and really be in that conversation now that Wemby and Jokic are likely out of it.
You think about two guys in the East?
Well, there's that third guy we could talk about also.
Just think about two guys. Just two guys. The world is quite small for New Yorkers, per usual. Um, I think we cannot not discuss Jaylen Brown.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
about time, man. We haven't talked about Jaylen Brown much. Um, this is kind of just like a throwaway season for the Celtics. You don't have Tatum. And we're just gonna keep doing our thing. We're gonna compete. Missoula's crazy. We're just gonna. They're not gonna tank this year. There's no way. Then more than that, they're currently number two offense. I think they're legit top five offense. They're still legit top 10 defense. They've got a lot of really intriguing growth from their young guys who barely saw any team time last year. Um, they got an intriguing rookie. They just got a lot of these pieces, and Jaylen Brown's at the head of it. He's the go-to guy. He's averaging 30 points a game, 6.4 rebounds, 5 assists. He's the best mid-range shooter in the league. We don't talk about him much, but we talk about Shays a lot. Like, we're not talking about it because it's like, oh, Tatum's not there. They're not going to win a championship. And then you turn around and you're like, wait, this is exactly who we thought he might be when we looked at the stats that Jaylen has amassed without Tatum over their career. He's been a career 27 plus point per game scorer when Tatum's not on the floor. And look at him do what he's doing now. I mean, if the Celtics are going to be a two seed, a three seed in the East without Tatum, the way they gutted their roster a bit. I mean, I know Cade's story. I think it'll be tough to talk to him about over Cade, but I think if we're just talking about a ladder here, who is above who, I actually have a little bit of trouble thinking about, what Brown's impact has been for this Celtics team compared to what Brunson's impact has been for the Celtics. And I think
The
the
next one.
Knicks. And I think that, quietly the Celtics have been a more consistent team than the Knicks have, and just no one's talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that they're effectively level, similar records. It's about half a game now. Just the Knicks have played one more game than the Celtics, but yeah, uh, I mean, it's hard to look past them. I mean, we're all happy to kind of forget about the Celtics, like you keep saying, like because we don't think they're going to compete for the championship this year. But Brown has been he has been amazing, and the fact that he back up now, leading the league in the mid range. I know that was the case earlier on in the season. If he's back up doing that again now, like that's really impressive. He's shooting well from deep, which is also great. And yeah, like he's been a monster, and like he came out and he wasn't happy that he didn't win the December Player of the Month, and like rightfully so. He had justification on that. Not that Jalen Brunson wasn't great as well, but like he was right to come out and kind of stake his claim. And that's like a good thing to do. Like that kind of gets people to kind of look at him that a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, you look at the race right now, and I think Jokic is still included in it because he's still not been ruled out. He's obviously still number one as of right now, but I think when he is due to be reevaluated, he will only be able to miss one more game this whole season to qualify. So
Yeah.
realistically, he is done.
Wouldn't it
Um,
be such a Jokic thing for him to just not have to deal with all this crap that he just like rests an additional game just to be done with it?
yeah, yeah. No, that would be very much in his repertoire for sure. But then you're looking at it, you're kind of like it's Shea and it's Luca, and then it probably is Jalen Brown.
Yeah. I I did not think we'd get to this point where he's at least absolutely belonging in the conversation. I think, I'd love for to see Cade be in that conversation because of how good the Pistons have continued to be this season. Again, quietly, like, hey, this is pretty exciting. Pistons are actually legit this year. They're definitely, if not a top four, they're a top three seed. They're at the top of the East. They beat the piss out of you guys again,
Yeah.
and it's becoming a problem. Like it feels like that's the matchup that you don't want to see in the Eastern Conference between the Knicks and the Pistons, and it feels like they have a personal vendetta against the Knicks right now, and I love it. I love that matchup. I love seeing it. Um, I think we're having some real growing rivalries between these three teams, and same thing. I hope that with the 76ers as well, like as their young core grows, that this becomes a core for if the Magic stick together, if that comes along. I think that we're actually, as we're looking at the East, that we are assuming is so wide open because everything stinks. I think there's actually a lot of great competition between these teams. Just as an aside, that I'm excited to see grow. You got an MVP candidate in Detroit. It's the last time that was a thing. You got an MVP candidate in Brunson in the Knicks, and you got one in their second star in Boston. Tatum's not even there. That's going on. But yeah, it's a cool time to see that the Eastern
Yeah,
Conference has
and
a
if the
few guys on that
76ers
list.
we're doing a little bit better, Maxi would be right up there as well because he's having
Yeah.
an
No.
insane season as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yes. He
So I
definitely
mean, like
deserves
the,
to
the
be in
West,
that.
the East is like it's still not totally there, but like you're just like it could be there, like it could be so close to being that real force. And like imagine the Cavs that weren't kind of so up and down this year. Like Mitchell
Ugh.
again is having an unbelievable time of it. But like yeah, it's the race for MVP is going to be interesting. It's probably going to be hard to dislodge Shea, but Jokic probably out. You look at Doncic. Doncic could do some stuff. Brown could definitely just stake his claim. Cade absolutely can if they really establish themselves at this one seed, which they are doing, and don't look like they're really gonna drop off significantly. It's gonna be it should make for an interesting race, and a lot of Eastern Conference names are gonna be involved in that, which is great to see. We talked about Luka Doncic briefly. Let's talk about the Lakers as a whole. I just want to ask you one simple question.
Okay.
Are the Lakers underachieving or overachieving under JJ Redick?
I think they're right where they belong. I
Okay.
think they're right where they belong. I think they have such boomer bust potential on offense. I think that there's not a lot of true reliable shooters, but they have capable ones. So I feel like we see a lot of swings, games here and there where they have hot shooting night, cold shooting night. They just don't have great consistent shooters. Their defense, they don't have a great defense. Aiton's still not that anchor. They have a lot of porous perimeter defenders. LeBron James is 41. I think you're going to expect them to be a average to below average defense on a night to night basis. But what do you got? You got Reeves, James, and Austin Reeves. Sorry, Reeves, James, and Doncic, who have only played 8 games together. They've won 7 of those 8 games, and they've won 7-0 when Luca and James have played to their potential, playing, shooting, scoring 25 points per game each. That's the formula. Those two guys are awesome. You probably win. If they're not, the rest is not quite talented enough on either ends of the floor to really pull you up. So I think that kind of evens out to you're a good team. I don't think they should be better than this, to be honest. I don't
Yeah.
think that they have enough depth, like good depth, to be better than this. Um, I think that salary spent on either of these three guys is going to be need to when James eventually goes. I think that's when this team really starts to take off because then you start investing in other parts of this roster, and that's probably what just ultimately needs to happen in the future. I think this is probably as good as it gets. Now, my question for you is that good enough to have a puncher's chance in the playoffs from what we've seen?
Like obviously, I want to say yes, so I want to believe it. But they got swept last year because they didn't have enough size and they didn't have enough depth. And then you look at this year, and it's kind of the same thing. They've got their three stars, but then after that they've kind of got average to below average players for the most part. And like I keep saying, this modern NBA depth means everything, and the Lakers just do not have it. But you look at the bigger question and you think, but they have that star power. They're 13-0 in clutch games this year. They've also got blown out in a lot of games as well. So the Lakers are just a complete. They're honestly a bit of a. They're a little bit of a shit show. They're very hot and cold. When they're on it, they can compete with anyone. But how often that comes around is just the real problem, you know.
No, it's true. It's true. Um, I think that JJ JJ's been really. I've loved his energy there. He's been very unapologetically, uh, just JJ Redick. He's
Hmm.
not changed who he is at all. He doesn't care that it's Luca. He doesn't care that it's LeBron. He's just straight up like just calling it out whenever he sees it. When the effort's bad, the defense is bad. Just get this man some better help. I think that's what he's going to need next season. I really I think in a 7 game series you can get enough out of these guys to win. How many 7 game series can they do that? I don't know. We've seen some magical things happen before, and when you have Luca, anything can happen. When you have Luca and LeBron James, really maybe anything can happen. And
Way they went on that run in 2023, you have to believe that they could do something similar like this time around. You know,
yeah, you never know who's
they need to get
there.
lucky with matchups, no doubt, no doubt. But yeah, Luka
Yes.
Doncic is capable of like leading to like overachieving in the playoffs without doubt.
Is there some buyout magic somewhere? Is there a buyout that's going to save them? I don't know.
Maybe Trae Young.
All right, where do we go next here?
Well, we're obviously staying in the West. This is a very West heavy pod. Also, we got a little bit of East in with the Trae Young trade. That was the East fun. But now we're saying West. Do you want to look at the Thunder or do you want to look at the Suns?
Let's have a little chat about the Thunder. Everyone's
Oh
freaking
man.
out. I'm not freaking out. Let's just have a little fireside chat. Talk about their offense. They're 17th in offensive rating in the last 13 games, which surprisingly is not as bad as their offensive rating for the whole year, which is 19th. Um, During this stretch, they're shooting 31.8% from three. That's pretty bad. That's probably worse than we actually think that they are. Um, just talking about the shooting and talking about that number in particular, and looking at what we've seen over these Spurs games, that crazy Suns game we saw against the Jazz just the other night. What are we seeing from their offense and their shooting that is is that concerning you? Do you think they're just getting good looks and missing?
I just think they have very hot and cold shooters. They don't really
Yeah.
have any lockdown shooters, knockdown shooters. They've got hot and cold guys that I think will eventually come good like they did last year. Like Lou Dort is going to go through stretches where he's shooting 1 of 7 for over every night for over like a 10-15 game stretch. But then he's also going to come up trumps and he's going to go 4 or 5 in a big game where they absolutely need it. And I think other guys like your Case and Wallace's, your Aaron Wiggins, other guys are in a similar mold to that. They haven't got those knockdown shooters. They've got guys capable of doing it, and I just still believe that they'll get hot at the right time to really like continue on this push and have them like still established as the favorites to win it all this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think things have changed a little bit for them for a few reasons. I think one, that's absolutely correct. I agree that, Caruso at times is gonna hit like 80% for a game and then
Yeah.
not hit a three for like a week, it feels like.
Hmm.
And I think you know, what their real weapon is, obviously, is their defense. We already know what happens when they start getting pick sixes, they start taking away the ball, they start generating more offense. Um, but what we've seen, I think, is that their strength on offense in the half court comes from their ability to drive. They got a lot of guys who can put the ball on the
Yeah.
floor. And when they get you in the blender and teams are trying to rotate, that's when there's just so many opportunities for these guys to get driving, clearing out driving lanes and create open shots, and things start to stem. It's really hard to stop that flow once they get going there. But because their shooters are not so great, I feel like defenses have really started to hone in on these drives. sending help early. And okay, AJ Mitchell, you gonna shoot from the top? Okay, we'll see. Shot 35% for the year, which is not bad, but he's been had some pretty rough games of late, at least from shooting a three. And it's not necessarily the percentages from him, but it's the looks that defenses are allowing. It's the total gap coverage where he's got 8 feet in front of him, and the defense is just like, no, I don't want Chet's not going to slip in here for an easy weak side slip here. Shea's not going to get this easy drive. We're not going to let Jalen Williams get downhill. Go ahead, shoot that. We're not going to rotate out, and that's really kind of broken a lot of half court possessions where they're just not getting any flow. Not everyone touched the ball in the way that they do when they start to get downhill and move the ball around the perimeter. And it's hard to get these guys who are so hot and cold going when the ball's not moving the same way. And we felt like that's when things get a little clunky. And that kind of brings me to the J-Dub point where I know J-Dub got hurt in the off season. He's still recovering from that wrist injury, and I think I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt that he just needs to get fully in rhythm. He's only had a couple months at this point, but he's not been special, and I expect special from Jalen Williams, championship dog Jalen Williams, because right now he doesn't look like he would be a one B on another team. He just looks like Shea's sidekick. And I mean that because I really think that the true potential of this team is when Jalen Williams is able to be a number one guy and Shea can kind of just chill for a couple of possessions. Like the amount of times that happened last season when, Shea's dominating, he's getting early doubles, and then Jalen Williams just looks unstoppable. And especially when his 3-point shot is falling, he's shooting 31% right now. Like that cannot continue. That he in particular cannot be a poor shooter. That's got to change. Um, that and along with like the fast break points coming down, they're only 18th in fast break points per game this season. It's a far cry from what they were last season. It's led to a little bit of vulnerability, and teams can kind of bog things down. They're not blowing teams out. The Jazz had to have some pretty good luck, but so did the Thunder. The Thunder relied on the Jazz turning the ball over a million times, trying to lose the game on 5 different occasions in overtime for them to finally pull off that win. Yeah, the Suns had some pretty crazy.
Jazz ultimately had the luck because they wanted to lose.
Exactly. Poor Walter Clayton Jr. because he had such an excellent game, and then he just turned over the ball what felt like 6 times in a row for the Thunder to finally seal the deal. But sure, the Suns had some shooting luck, but they also that their defensive game plan worked. They suffocated Shea. They let these shooters shoot. They did not let them get their defense in rotation. They did not let them get in the blender, and that formula worked. It was a close game, and it was Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks versus Shea who's going to make those shots, and the Suns just made more shots. And when you're facing a team that's so good like the Thunder, you play for that luck. If you have the ability to be in that game-winning scenario, that's awesome because this is a team that is known for beating the living hell out of other teams when you let them get to their strengths.
I just like look at it. Obviously, they're 7-6 over their last 13 games, but they also started 23-1, and I don't think we can just forget about that.
Strength of schedules.
Yeah. Obviously, that comes into it as well, but I don't really like the main thing I'm looking at for this whole season. It's nothing really to do with the regular season. I just want to see them face the Spurs with Wemby healthy and starting, and see if the Spurs really do have OKC's number, because obviously that's how it's looked in the regular season so far this year, that the Spurs have figured them out, and they're the best at making the Thunder uncomfortable. In terms of individuals, the guy I'm looking at is Chet. I feel like Chet is really in that mold right now where we're starting to look at him in a similar sort of vein to like an Evan Mobley, and we're just really waiting for him to really make that leap offensively, and we're just not seeing it. And I don't know, maybe he's not getting the opportunities, but he's also got to make the opportunities for himself and really take those moments as well. So Chet is one where I'm always going to be having my eyes on him, watching how he progresses and how he really hones in on that offensive game, because as much as you talk about J-Dub being that other star, like Chet needs to have those capabilities as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you, especially in the Suns game, you've seen that defenses are honing in on him too. You know that he doesn't do well with doubles. They
Hmm.
did that. If
Yeah.
if you put a small on him and you're rotating a small, bringing a small, digging in from the wing, he doesn't feel comfortable there. He's not felt comfortable. He's never been a great back to the basket big, especially when you're bringing help. And I think that that's a moment of growth for him. Like that, he's still such a young player. He's still got a long way to go, and I think that there's still more potential there. But he, just like these other guys, very much it feels like he still just plays within the flow of their offense, and he doesn't have a lot of moments where you just give him the ball. So that's it feels like that's still not his game.
Hmm.
He's not a creator. He's not created a lot of offense. He's been very much taking advantage of what is Shea created, what is these other perimeter guys created for him, and he's been a very efficient shooter. I've been happy with that, but the volume there also has not been great. Does that mean we need more volume from Chet? Do we need to see a little bit more Isaiah Joe? Or is this just going to be just more of a, you know, just kind of something mental to work through? Because I think that it is an interesting point that this is a team that everything seemed
Hmm.
assumed champion. Like it's them versus the field. We're taking that. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe there's a little bit more to prove here. They're still the new champs on the block. They haven't gone back to back. They thought they were the Warriors. Like, you're not the Warriors. You barely beat the Pacers. What are we talking about? Like, there's something to prove here, and I do like that narrative. Like, they still almost got to prove like you guys better be afraid of us, and they're going through this stretch where I think the league has been like, wait, they're just the Thunder. They're not the Curry Durant Warriors. They're not the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade Miami Heat. We don't have to be afraid of you like that. And I think that it's a good period of time where this last month has kind of shifted that narrative where hey, that they're the championship's still there. This is not the Oklahoma City Thunder season where we just watch them waltz into a championship. Like they still got to fight like hell to get there, and I think they know that.
Yeah, and like obviously they fought like hell last year, and like this is like not too similar. After the Nuggets won their title, like I think a lot of us assumed that they would go on and win another one. They still felt like by far and away the best team, and then they were not able to do that, and they obviously lost to the Timberwolves the year after they won the title. Then obviously lost to the Thunder last year. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where what happens next, and as we get close to the playoffs, I think they're fine. I think they're going to still comfortably be the one seed in the Western Conference, especially with Jokic still being out and other starters still being out for the Nuggets. And I don't really see the Rockets or the Lakers really kind of making that push to really challenge for the one seed. So I think they'll still be that one seed. It's just going to be how it looks when we're getting towards the playoffs. Coming out of the All Star break, do they start to get dominant once again? So I think we just all got to take a breath. I think some of the points you're making are real and they could turn into something. But I still think in this. It's still kind of a small example of it, so I look to see it broadly as we move forward with the rest of the regular season.
Yeah.
Still 31-7, still pretty damn good.
Yeah. It's been a good time to everyone relax. This is not the next juggernaut yet. This is not the end of parody coming in the form of Shea, J Dub, and Chet. There's still an open avenue to contention here. Um, I think I didn't have like a ton of notes on the Suns, but a lot of this mentioned in terms of their win over the Thunder. But I think if we haven't mentioned it enough, like I mean Devin Booker, man, this Suns team, man, there's defense. If every time you turn on a Suns game and you watch them play, it's just the force they play with, the way they share the ball, and Devin Booker being such a steady star for them, steady playmaker, and just looks like he's so underrated, man. Like he's not had the best year from beyond the arc, but in terms of like when you watch the flow of the game on offense, like he just manages the game so well and knows when to take over, knows when to facilitate for guys, and everyone's just feeding off of that energy. You could just tell like he's one of my like most underappreciated stars in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of shocked though that you're not going to your favorite player of this era, as you described him to me over text last week, Dylan
Dude.
Brooks. Like, I'm kind of looking at Dylan Brooks over Devin Booker when we're looking at the Suns this year. Honestly, averaging a career high 21 points per game.
Dude, Dylan, I think he's the most fun player to watch, truly. Like on every possession. Like there some guys, especially some of your favorite players, you watch them on defense and it's like, oh, okay, like there's not really a lot happening here. Just watch it. Dylan Brooks is on every second of every play, every game is engaged in every way, shape, or form. If he is not defending, he's looking around. He's barking out calls. He's yelling at refs. He's yelling at fans. He's probably blowing in people's ears. He's chirping at the other bench. He's doing something. Like this guy is just like absolute entertainment for every minute of every game. I absolutely love it. And dude, you never know when he's going to turn to Kobe Bryant. You just never know. You never know when he's gonna like pull a fading fall away three on his opposite shoulder for uh, the lead against the league's best team. You never know when that's gonna happen. You never know when the exact next possession he's literally gonna dribble off his foot out of bounds. So that, look, it's the best. It's the best show in basketball, I think, for so many reasons. Dylan Brooks needs his own camera crew. He needs his own documentary. I don't need a league pass. I need a Dylan Brooks pass. I just want to see all the Dylan Brooks.
No, that's fair, and he's a huge part of why the Suns are 22-15, just a game and a half back on the top six. They're pretty much set. I think it's going to be between them and the Warriors probably for that seven seed, and if both of them could still make a push to get into that top six as well. And like I think it really comes down to that defense. Like they're the ninth ranked defense so far this year. That's up from 28th to their 28th last year. So that's a huge jump. I love the impact that Gillespie has had on this team. He's been huge for them. But like yeah, Brooks and Booker, what they're doing for this Suns team has been really impressive. And the fact that like this is just kind of the beginning of their rebuild, and we thought they were like dead and buried. We thought they were done. We were like, why is Devin Booker signing that extension and all this? And like, this is what they're producing now. When it's just a little more low key, less pressure, no superstars, no Kevin Durant, no Bradley Beal. They're just like overachieving, I guess, this year, and I think they're happy to be in that position. And it's just about building on from here. And the more we get to see from Mark Williams, the more we get to see from Malawak. Like this team could really be something over the next couple of years. And Jalen Green, of course, who has barely
No,
played.
yeah, that was my next point. Is that Grayson Allen still hasn't really gotten his feet under him yet, and it looks like he's starting to get back there. He's a really important piece of what they're doing, and these new guys, Jordan Goodwin, what an incredible game he had against the Thunder. Glad you mentioned Gillespie, man. Like just really incredible that he's just their starting point guard, and whenever Devin Booker is not their point guard, he's just taking over and been good. Um, but yeah, dude, like that's the X factor. Is Green gonna come in and do something here? Is he gonna take another step? They don't need him to right now. I mean, they're
Yeah,
well in contention, but if that's an extra spark, you have another playmaker. You have a guy who, most importantly, I think that there's times where there's some real late shot clock situations for the Suns, and they move the ball well on the perimeter, and you just hope that one of these guys hits a contested three. But you get a guy like Jalen Green, and you have another guy who can really attack the paint. Um, so you can imagine the kind of closeouts that he can attack in this system, the kind of openings that he'll have with the amount of shooting that they've actually amassed on this team, and you can see a lot of hope for him being a real productive part of this team. Um, and for like a rebuild, man, like you can't be happier for to be a Suns fan here, where there wasn't a lot of hope, and there's whispers of, hey, maybe you'll be so bad that the most loyal player in the league is eventually gonna be like, hey, respectfully, like you gotta go. Like no, they're contending, and Devin Booker's still not even at his peak yet right now. Everyone's defending like Dylan Brooks is commanding them from inside their heads. Like he's just that's my last point, Dylan Brooks, man. Like at this point, it is absolutely a part of his career now where anywhere you put Dylan Brooks in your uniform, like he is going to impact your defense. Like you are going to develop more intensity. And I wish that people would ask him or ask other players about it a little bit more. But you just really do see that teams play harder when Dillon Brooks is on the floor. It's undeniable. Part of that you kind of lost a little bit of that when he left the Grizzlies. Like Grizzlies still have like that's still like part of their identity, but that Dillon Brooks mentality, I mean, brought that to Houston. I think a lot of those guys in Houston were naturally like that, but that was really amplified with Dillon Brooks, and you're seeing in the Suns. This was not their calling card last year. Where did that come from? That could come from coaching, could come from within, but you damn well see it when Dillon Brooks is on that floor. So shout out Dillon Brooks, man. He gets a lot of hate, but I think that the Suns probably hated him before. They love him now. Rockets hated him before. They love him now, and you can't deny the impact he's had on these teams.
No, Brooks is the ultimate. Love him with all your heart when he's on your team. Hate him with everything in your being when he's not on your team. Like that's who Dillon Brooks is, and he is absolutely over the moon to be that for everybody else. And but yeah, no, Brooks has got to be the shout out, and the Suns in general. It's like, yeah, I mean, good job. Obviously, we know they don't have their pick this year, so they couldn't afford to just completely tank. So it's good to see them being competitive in the Western Conference, and maybe, just maybe, they might even be able to push up into the top 6. But yeah, I think we're going to about do it for today's episode. But I think it might be time to spin the wheel. What do you think?
Let's do it. Let's spin the wheel. It's been too long.
We gotta do that. We gotta make sure that we are.
I think we've eaten most of our vegetables.
Let's hope we don't get completely screwed.
We've eaten most of our vegetables to this point, I think.
I mean, yeah, well, all right. Let's just start it out. What are we gonna do? No. Who we got? Phoenix Suns, maybe? No. 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 I'm sorry. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Rig this, man.
Yeah, man, I'm bringing it. One time we have a veto.
Oh wow, this is the first time we spun the wheel.
There we go. Philadelphia 76ers.
I do like that. Yeah. Well,
right,
that was the first time we spun the wheel. This time, that last time didn't happen.
Yeah, that last time didn't count. I think everyone can understand. We're not like. Didn't we do the Sacramento Kings earlier this year as well?
Yeah. Actually, you didn't take them out. Yeah,
we did. So that's why I skipped.
All right.
Yeah, we already did the Sacramento.
We need to hire a
Kings.
Producer.
Yeah, that's true. To be better than me. Yeah, I know. One day soon. But yeah, 76ers. We'll be having to keep a close eye on the 76ers this week. I'm excited to do that. And Embiid is back playing. Maxi's still great. Getting to have a little look at Edgecombe, a few other guys. Yeah, 76ers. I'm excited about that.
Raptors back-to-back. Sunday, January 11th. January 12th. This will be a Raptors and 76ers twofer, I think. And then a Cavs back to... Wow, this is such an interesting week. I've not seen this. Has anyone had a double
back-to-back?
Well, it's not a back-to-back for the Cavs series, but a double matchup like this. They're playing the Raptors twice in a row and the Cavs twice in a row. That is very interesting. That is a very interesting week of basketball.
Have you seen the Raptors record with RJ Barrett this year? They're absolutely flying.
Dude, RJ, you guys miss him. You guys messed up. That was your key.
Back.
That was your key to the championship. But hopefully Embiid survives this week. Really excited to see some VJ. Tyrese as always. Can't wait. Ring the bell.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for sticking with us. Remember, we are everywhere on social media at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.